Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome into a Wednesday edition of On Cue. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones, and we're coming at you live inside the friendly confines of the SR 1029 FM The Game remote studios. Hope everyone had a wonderful Sports Tuesday. You're enjoying your Wednesday the 4th of March 2026. Get in on the conversation. You can hashtag On Cue. Check me out on X, on IG as well, Average Q on Q. And of course, SR 1029 FM The Game. Don't forget to download the AUDACY app. We're on Kicks, Rumble, TikTok. We're all over the friggin' place. So get in on the conversation, get social. Very easy to do. Another busy day in the NFL. The Sixers got absolutely annihilated last night. I'm just waiting for the sentiment of the Sixers fans that are still hoping that the process works out like a bunch of jackasses, to be quite honest with you. I mean, 40. You lose by 40 last night to the Spurs. Embarrassing. We'll get into a little NBA. And it's funny. That's one of the reasons I didn't ask Jonathan Marshall that on Tuesday's show. But as always, like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you are enjoying what we are trying to offer you guys. And as always, we like to say it is a Woosah Wednesday. How long does it take before someone gets under my skin? Typically, it's about 5 to 7 minutes into the show. All right. So, NFL, when we fired off yesterday as we were wrapping up the show, that's when we learned about the Cardinals, which really no surprise, cutting Kyler Murray, or they're going to cut quarterback Kyler Murray. We'll get into that. How about the Rams? The Rams and Kansas City, a blockbuster deal. Kansas City is reportedly trading Trent McDuffie, who's a star cornerback, to the Rams, who are bolstering up that defense, multiple picks, including 2026 first rounder. So Kansas City right now, interesting enough, we highlighted them on Tuesday's show with Lloyd Vance, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football. We talked about maybe their needs going into the offseason, restructuring Patrick Mahomes' contract, what's going to happen with Kelsey. Are you going to draft a running back or go after, say, a Kenneth Walker Super Bowl MVP with Seattle that will not be tagged and/or signed? He's going to walk. He'll be an unrestricted free agent. So now you got KC, and they turn around, they trade McDuffie to the Rams for multiple picks, including the number 29 overall pick in the 2026 draft. All told, so in exchange for McDuffie, Kansas City's getting 4 draft picks. 2026 first round pick, 2026 fifth round pick, a little more equity, 2026 sixth round pick, 2027 third round pick. That's per the NFL Network. Now, McDuffie's a good player. He's 24, 25 years of age. He started 13 games. He was shut down late because of the knee injury. If you look at his numbers, he's still probably the 10th to 15th ranked cornerback in the NFL, if you go by PFF metrics, which we know are subjective. He played very well in 2023, very well in 2024, had the breakout season in 2023. He's been a very good player for Kansas City. He was selected number 21 overall in 2022 in the draft. But as we always see, when you have a young player entering the final year of a rookie contract in 2026, and pretty much you've got free agency looming, Kansas City doesn't want to pay him. Or they believe we can't keep this kid around past 2026. So again, that's one of the reasons you're stockpiling picks. You're trying to make up for the loss with some of these newly acquired draft picks. And the Rams, it just shows you, wow. So, I mean, listen, I think the Rams are basically telling you, hey, we got Matthew Stafford back. We know we have the NFL MVP. We can run it back with him. We have a very good defense. We've got playmakers on both sides of the ball. And now we are just loading up on defense. We're going to load up and we're going to make a run at this in an NFC where, oh, by the way, we got to the NFC Championship game. So the Rams, to me, are saying we're going all in to win the Super Bowl. You give up 4 picks for a player entering the final year of his deal. That would normally present, I think, the risk to reward, a massive risk. But listen, if it turns out you work out a long-term deal with them, then here you go. And if the asking price is too steep, then okay, you just got to figure out what you're going to do, going forward, right? The future. So I think no matter what, look, it's still a steep price to pay giving up those draft picks. But I just think right now, if you consider the fact that this team made it all the way to the NFC Championship game, if you consider the fact that Matthew Stafford is 38 and he is approaching beyond the twilight of his career, but he's also coming off an MVP season. He took a little bit of time to think about his future. He's not pulling an Aaron Rodgers, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And he said, listen, I'm going to commit to playing with you guys. And here we go. And there's no indications that he's going to retire after 2026. So the window is still there. And I think the Stafford situation, obviously, I would say 100%, not even 99.99%. I think Stafford returning is playing a big role in how the Rams approach the offseason, and rightfully so. And their defense has shown ridiculous amount of improvements. And you've got arguably one of the best wide receivers in Nakua in the NFL, right? You've got a good running back in Williams. He's dependable. You've got the MVP in the quarterback in Matthew Stafford. And you got a very good, if not great, head coach. So listen, they're right there. I mean, the odds go up. That's just how it is in the NFL. But that is a big move by the Rams. And Kansas City is trying to reload. Kansas City is trying to reload. And it started with the fact that they restructured Patrick Mahomes' contract. Now, yesterday, as we were creeping off the air, the news came down, which was really not a shock, but I guess if you kind of take a step back, it kind of was like, whoa. Cardinals are going to release Kyler Murray. Cardinals told Kyler Murray he will be released next week. And I've got some thoughts on this because I never thought Kyler Murray was a bad quarterback. I never thought that. I thought Kyler Murray was a good quarterback, a serviceable quarterback. I think he showed flashes early on in his career that pretty much teased the Cardinal fan base and the franchise. And you're talking about a 2019 number 1 draft pick. And now all of a sudden, after 7 seasons, I would say up and down, they're going to release him. But here's the caveat. He's already guaranteed close to $37 million in 2026 and would have been guaranteed another 19 for 2027 if he was still on the roster March 16th, which is the 5th day of the 2026 league year. He preferred to be released. He wants to latch on. Now it's almost as though we can kind of insert, certain teams and scenarios. And I also think teams like the Jets, teams like Cleveland, teams like the Saints, insert teams that we believe need some quarterbacks. I think their line of thinking right now is a little different, knowing that Kyler Murray is going to be released. Look, he had 7, I guess you can say, up and down seasons with the Arizona Cardinals. And let's be fair, it's a cheap organization. You're always going to sit there and debate, did they build around the franchise quarterback? You had 1 playoff appearance. That was a playoff loss to the Rams in 2021. You're talking about a 2-time Pro Bowl quarterback, fine. But again, he's a quarterback that put up some pretty decent numbers. Over 20,000 yards, 3,000 yards rushing as a quarterback. I think when he came into the league and he was a Heisman Trophy winner, a lot of people, the negative, the drawback was he's too small. And is he all in, right? Because, all right, he wants to play baseball. That was another conversation that a lot of people kept saying, right? But he leaves now, or he will leave with a 38-48-1 record. And I think the last several years, he's just been prone to injuries. Now, with a team like the Jets that, here we go, number 1 draft pick. They've been down this road before, had they not? Injury-prone quarterback, had they not? Inconsistent at times, had they not? But maybe low risk to high reward. I don't know. Right now, it's all about who's interested in Kyler Murray, right? Who's going to pursue Kyler Murray? So for the Arizona Cardinals to release him, they're saying a couple things. The time has ran out. That's evident. That's number 1. But I also believe that they're looking around saying, well, we have a 33-year-old Jacoby Brissett, and I know he's bounced around, but he put up some decent numbers. And he did last year. Jacoby Brissett played really well for Arizona. He threw over 3,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, just 6 picks. He played in 14 games. They believe if they just kind of fine-tune around that offensive line and Jacoby Brissett, they can be a player. And I believe that as well. I don't see any reason why Arizona can't turn around. And oh, by the way, they're sitting with the number 3 pick. So if they want to go tackle, they can go tackle. If they want to go defensive end, they can go defensive end. If they want to go for another weapon for Brissett, they can do that. I think they need to fix the offensive line. I've said this for years. What's alarming is that in 14 games, Jacoby Brissett was sacked 43 times. So I definitely think first and foremost, it's paramount. You got to go and get a tackle to protect a quarterback that's in his early, almost to mid 30s. He's 33. So he'll be 34 December, pretty much midway through or late in the NFL season. So I wouldn't say shocking news that they decided to move on from Kyler Murray. I would caution it by saying this. We've seen quarterbacks who were high draft picks. They didn't pan out after a couple years. A lot of expectations, a lot of fanfare, inconsistent play. You know, the whole thing with the playbook and the video games and not being engaged. I'm not going to tell you right now that Kyler Murray is a bad kid, a bad guy. I'm not saying that. But I think this is humbling right now. I really do. You're the number 1 overall draft pick. You made a substantial amount of money, and you just really didn't live up to the expectations. Now, still, there are teams out there, Jets, New Orleans, Cleveland, Minnesota. There are teams out there that will say, hold on a second. You know, now forget about a bridge. We potentially have a guy that can be our starting quarterback for the next 4, 5, 6 years because he's still relatively young. Kyler Murray is 28. He's not an old quarterback. You know, he's just not. You just have to figure out a way to just keep him healthy because he has missed a lot of time over the last several seasons. Now, he played 17 games in 2024, and he was productive, right? But the offensive line did not help him. Now, do you want to stick him with a team with a bad offensive line? You know, that's another thing, right? He's a quarterback that likes to pull the ball down first and foremost, run, take off, scramble. We talked a lot about his height, having issues maybe seeing over that defensive line, right? As opposed to looking at the edges, the ends, you know, and the tackles, you know, looking above and beyond second field, if you will. He's got a strong arm. He can move around. He's got some mobility, but the decision-making at times is less than appealing. But there will be a team out there that believes that they can kind of use him as a reclamation project, right? Now, if you're talking Minnesota, listen, J.J. McCarthy got banged up. He played in 10 games. He got sacked 27 times. Carson Wentz, not a fleet of foot. Max Bromer, not fleet of foot, right? And these are quarterbacks that got sacked a total of 60 times. So, you know, you might take an issue with that. If you're a quarterback, a free agent quarterback, am I going to go somewhere that has a shaky offensive line? But this is where we're at in the NFL. If you do not perform at a high level, we don't care where you were drafted. We don't care if you're a top 5 quarterback. We don't care if you're the top quarterback that was drafted. You're not selected. I mean, the same argument's going to be said in 2 to 3 years. If the Raiders go out and draft Fernando Mendoza and it just doesn't work out, well, then I got news for you. 3, 4 years, Mendoza might be one of these quarterbacks that's looking for a job, which is interesting too, because I don't know if you read the report per Mike Silver. So Max Crosby and others, now I don't know if that's players or those within the organization, have become increasingly frustrated by the role of Tom Brady's confidant, his buddy Alex Guerrero with the Raiders. And I'm not going to sit here and say that it's one of the reasons that Max Crosby wants out of Vegas. But if I'm Brady, I got to reel this guy in because the optics perception is everything. And the last thing you want to do is start scaring off potential players, right? Or potential free agents. And it's one of the reasons too that, look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Crosby is kind of that renegade guy, right? But you know, it is interesting that there were a couple comments that he actually praised Guerrero, and now he's become frustrated with Guerrero. So I'm not really sure, you know, again, who to believe. I'm just going off the Silver report. And the other thing is, as good as Max Crosby is, listen, what have the Raiders done as an organization since they drafted him? So you have to have that conversation as well. You have to. You have to have that conversation as well. Because if we're always going to look at the head coaches, the GM, the ownership group, then you got to look at the players. And the players have to make plays, period. They got to figure out a way to make plays. So you got Murray, you got Dallas Cowboys restructuring some deals to get under the cap. We'll talk a little more about that. You've got the big trade between the Rams and Kansas City. NFL, we'll kind of keep it rolling with that. And then as far as the NBA, my goodness, what a disgrace. What an absolute disgrace by the friggin' Philadelphia 76ers. I mean, what more can you say? Well, what a joke. And you're at home. You're at home and you lose by 40 friggin' points. Now, granted, San Antonio is a really good team. San Antonio is a really good team. They're a playoff team. They're going to be a high seed. But my goodness, I mean, come on. You can't roll over like that. You just can't. They were horrible last night. No defense whatsoever. I mean, it's an embarrassing loss. You get the kid Harper scoring 22, and they just rolled. There was no effort, no resistance whatsoever. None. None whatsoever. And I get it. Embiid's not on the floor. I'm kind of past that, to be quite honest with you. Now, if they turn around and they lose to Utah tonight, then you got some real issues. They're not a good basketball team right now, the Philadelphia 76ers. They're just not. But to go out at home and to lose by 40, I mean, hell, if they turn around and lose to an 18-win Utah team, you might as well back up the bus and just break it down and break it apart because they're not doing anything. That's what Jonathan Marshall said yesterday. Like, why even talk about them? Right now, they're at a 60. What are they going to do? There's no upside to what they're doing. They should have traded Embiid years ago. We debated that constantly. Constantly. Now you're talking about the head coach on the hot seat. Everyone wants the owner, Josh Harris, to sell the team. Daryl Morey, he's a snake. I mean, I just feel like here we go. I mean, come on. It's unbelievable. And by the way, did you see the quote from Tyrese Maxey? Right? I mean, hey, I'm not going to lie and say I don't miss Jarrett McCain. I'm happy for him. I watch him in OKC. Hope he does well every single night except for when he plays us. I mean, here we go. I mean, here we go. Yeah, I mean, you think Daryl Morey's going to be able to walk down Broad Street? I mean, this guy's a freaking clown. Josh Harris is a freaking clown. Like, what are you waiting for? You're not invested in the team. Yes. Yeah. Financially, sure. You own the team. We understand that. But what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Where are you? Like, it's almost like peekaboo with the groundhog, right? After 6 more weeks. Like, what are we doing here? Sell the friggin' team. You don't care about the Philadelphia fans. You don't care about the Sixers as an organization. You don't. You don't. You just don't. So you got quarterbacks on the move. You got the NBA. As I mentioned, a lot of NFL, which always takes center stage. We'll open up the comments on the other side. See a lot of them rolling in. Don't forget, hashtag on Q334, a Woosah Wednesday edition. We're powered by our good friends over at Three Brooks Bourbon. Get ready with tea. Fresh roasted coffee. Check out the show notes, and you'll be able to save on Q. That's your promo code on Q20. Quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side. We'll get to your comments as well. We'll take you up to about 4:15 on this Wednesday edition. All right, 3:36 on a Wednesday edition of On Cue. Rich Quinones here. Appreciate you guys keeping us tuned in and also checking us out on SR 1029 FM The Game, the AUDACY app. If you like the content and the show during the week, please do me a favor, subscribe to my YouTube channel at Rich Q on Q. You can also catch some hoops content as well with the Overseas Dime show. Back Your Play is going to be coming back as well. And also Double Jab Boxing, or really Combat Sports Pod, which is also available wherever you get your podcast. Tom in Summers Point chimes in. Q, I know this is a lifeless team, but you know there's no way that Josh Harris is going to sell the team. You're speaking of the Sixers. I agree wholeheartedly. Should he? Yes. Is it a bad watch? Absolutely. Absolutely. Does this team have any type of rhythm or rhyme? Like, what's the path, right? We always talk about the path to victory in a game, but where's the path to success for this franchise being relevant? Because they just haven't. They're not relevant because we're talking about them. It's a market team around this area, and we do a lot of what's going on in the East Coast, up and down the East Coast, and of course the DMV. But this is a bad basketball team that was lifeless last night. And if you go out and you lose to Utah tonight, one of the worst teams in the NBA, along with the Pelicans that can't get out of their own way, just back it up. I mean, I get what you're saying, but it's bad. Sergeant Delaware chimes in. Q, how much of that story do you think is actually accurate? Was it Guerrero? Was it Crosby? Was it leaked? Again, I'm just going by the report from Mike Silver, and I know people have their own thoughts on Mike Silver and the Pete Priscos of the world. I get it, but it's you take it for what it's worth. I mean, it's pretty evident that Max Crosby is ready to leave the Raiders, but I made the counter argument that listen, you're going to draft a quarterback. You've got some playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. You've got some money. You brought in Tom Brady to oversee a lot of things. Let's just call it for what it is. Why wouldn't you want to, just be a part of the rebuild? And maybe he doesn't. And maybe he's just tired of the losing. Maybe he's just tired of the losing. And that's okay, right? But it is funny. Myles Garrett was tired of losing until he got paid, right? I mean, let's just be honest. Myles Garrett was not happy with Cleveland. He was tired of losing, but then all of a sudden, here you go, contract extension, and boom. Now, Crosby also signed a contract extension, 3 years, $106 million. And I think at the time, he was the highest paid defensive player in the league. I mean, it was crazy. 91 million guaranteed. So we can sit there all we want. I mean, it was unprecedented extension. It really was. I mean, it really was. I'm telling you a team that I think right now, I know we talked a little bit about the Philadelphia Eagles because this is what Howie does, but now that Hendrickson's not going to get signed, he's going to walk with Cincinnati. Maybe he's in play. But I'll tell you this right now. I'll give you a team that I feel if they were to land Max Crosby, the current makeup of this team right now, I can make a strong case for them to get to the NFC Championship and win it, and that's the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears, listen, you're talking about a team that is on the rise. They have a very good young head coach. Their quarterback has come into his own. I mean, you just can't dispute that. They won 11 games last year. They had a remarkable little run, did they not? I mean, they did. They had that great win against Green Bay, and then they just went back and forth with the Rams and took them to overtime. And they had opportunities to win that game. But defensively, they still need to get to the quarterback consistently. But they've got some pieces. They've got some pieces in place. And I'll say this. The Rams make a move, man. I'll tell you, the Bears, pardon me, they can be dangerous. They can be dangerous. Now, you're adding to that 35, 36, 37 sack total. You're bringing in a player that, fits the Bears' MO. Like Crosby is an Al Davis throwback. He is. He's an Al Davis, rest in peace, draft pick. He's a throwback. This guy is a throwback. But now you stick him in Chicago, Windy City, and let him, just wreck a game. That's a huge upgrade. It's a monumental upgrade. He's going to get you 10 to 13 to 14 sacks. He'll command the double. That's going to free up other guys. To me, that would be amazing. I mean, that would be one of the biggest moves of the offseason. What the Rams and Kansas City did, I get it. The Rams are saying we're going all in. We'll sacrifice draft picks, let Kansas City rebuild, but we got a shot here. Arizona cutting Kyler Murray. That's believe it or not, it's not subtraction. It's almost addition because you're going to go with Brissett, right? Hendrickson's still out there. Walker's going to be a free agent. We'll figure out what's going to go on with Miami and Tua, who's going to take a look at Tua. The Giants ink Harbaugh, like that's a major move from a coaching standpoint, but you got to get the players in place. And I'll say this, if the Rams believe that this move gets them over the hump, well, again, they made that move based solely on the fact that Matthew Stafford was coming back. If Stafford decides at 38, reigning NFL MVP, I'm not coming back, the Rams are not making these moves. They're just not. They're not going to mortgage the future and give up 4 draft picks. They're not. I don't care if they're 3rd, 4th, or 5th round draft picks. They're not doing it. They're just not. But they believe we can go all in. Well, now you got the Raiders with a malcontent and a player that wants out, and you got the Bears sitting there. And now you got a player in Hendrickson that Cincinnati could have traded and got some value. They didn't, and now he's going to walk. Sometimes these organizations cannot get out of their own way. Steve chimes in, Q, do you think it was a smart move by Arizona to give up on Murray? Yeah, I do. Because, again, small quarterback, injury prone, talented quarterback, but 6-7 years, losing record, inconsistent play, off injured, not fully engaged. And there was always the talk when it came to Murray about what? Baseball. Always. Where is it really, do you want to be a football player? Do you want to be a 2-sport athlete? Do you want to be an NFL quarterback? You were drafted 9th overall by the A's in 2018. You got pick number 1 in 2019. Do you want to be a quarterback or do you want to be a baseball player? Now, at this point, be hard-pressed to think at 27, 28 he's going to get a crack at the majors. But that was always the knock, right? Where's your heart at? Are you all in? Are you all in? If you are drafting a quarterback, number 1 overall, you damn well better be sure you vet and he's got to check off all the boxes. Now, the Jets, to me, I can see the Jets basically coming in and kicking the tires on Murray. They're not bringing in Tua, and they're not going to go with a Daniel Jones. They're not going to sit there and try to make a move for Derek Carr if he decides to unretire. They're not bringing in Mac Jones. I think there's some buzz, and they know right now. I mean, think about this. You don't think they've already had discussions when these teams go to the NFL Combine? All these GM, all they do is talk. That's all they do. That's all they do. Now, here's the thing. He's expected to be released starting the new year, right? So are the Jets sitting here, all right, send a late round pick to the Cardinals, acquire his rights? Well, the contract could be the hurdle. 6th or 7th pick, 6th or 7th round, that's likely to trade, right? But if now you're going to go after him in free agency, what kind of money are we looking at? So Arizona, let's just say you're cut, you're a free agent, see you later. Okay? You're talking about $36 million that's guaranteed from Arizona. New York, to me, could be a nice landing spot for a quarterback trying to revive his career. And here's a guy that kind of took the NFL by storm his first season. And also, if you really want to put a bow on everything, even though I believe Aaron Glenn is on the hot seat, big time, and even though I believe Aaron Glenn is not a good NFL head coach, Aaron Glenn is pretty tight with Kyler Murray's father. They both played at Texas A&M. Not at the same time, right? But Aaron Glenn likes quarterbacks. He's made it publicly known. I want a quarterback with a little mobility. So you're talking now, okay, you tag Hall, you got Garrett Wilson, you got a mobile quarterback can move around a little bit, you clean up the defense. Can they be competitive? I don't know. But maybe you get through that first season unscathed. You get through that first year, right? And he doesn't have to deal with any type of injuries or the foot injury, anything like that. If he's fully recovered, then I think realistically, he's a target. He's a target as a bridge quarterback through 3, 4, 5 years. And you don't know what you're going to do with Aaron Glenn. And if it doesn't work out, and now you're looking down the street or into the future, and you see some quarterbacks coming out next year, well, then you can make that decision if you're a bad team. But if they win 6 or 7 games, you get a healthy Murray, and maybe, they were right in 4 or 5, and it could have swung the pendulum to maybe 9 wins, 8, 9 wins, and Murray looks good, then you're going to run it back with him. Low risk, high reward. Low risk, high reward. That's just how it is. 3:47, quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side. All right, the news continues to drop in the NFL. Looks like multiple reports are saying the Pats are going to release Stefon Diggs. See, everyone's waiting for the new calendar year. And I wonder how much of this, I feel like the Diggs situation kind of was swept under the rug because the Patriots were in the Super Bowl. But this is per Tom Pelissero. Pats are set to release Stefon Diggs after the start of the league year. So they're going to go in a different direction. And you just got to wonder, how much of this stems from the off the field nonsense, the off the field incidents with Stefon Diggs. He actually played at a pretty decent level this year, did he not? He kind of showed you the form. He was Drake May's favorite target. He was very reliable, and he had a 1,000-yard season. Now, is he the Diggs of 2020 with Buffalo? No, 2021, 2022. But I can tell you right now, if a team believes he's going to help that offense and a quarterback, they're going to scoop him up. They're absolutely going to. Now, or you're going to wait to see what happens with the off-the-field stuff. But he's a playmaker. He is a playmaker. So he pled, if you go back, the charges of felony, strangulation, suffocation, misdemeanor, assault, and battery from that incident involving, allegedly his personal chef. That was December 2025. He pled not guilty February 13th, 2026. So New England's probably thinking to themselves, he's got some issues, right? Legally, this might be a bind here. He's scheduled, his next hearing is April 1st, 2026. So you almost kind of read the room, if that makes sense, right? Because there's also a separate complaint by an influencer alleging sexual battery and other charges. Now, if all this is dismissed, right? All of this, and this is all nonsense, an incident that occurred during a season where he helped the Pats get to the Super Bowl. And this guy was a key offensive cog for Drake May, who had a phenomenal second season and was right there in the MVP conversation. Would have won it if it wasn't for a knucklehead voter. So maybe they kind of know how it might play out. And he played not guilty, which everyone expected. But I think, man, I'll tell you, you have to, right? You have to be held accountable for your actions, and you never put your hands on a woman. And look, we wait to see how it plays out. But once he's released, and let's just say you get past April and he's found not guilty on charges, I'm not again, saying that, I'm saying if that happens, then I can tell you right now, you know, there will be teams out there that will take a flyer on him. Yeah. I mean, listen, he was Drake May's number one target, right? In New England. Led him in catches and receiving yards. He can still play. It's just got to deal with, the other stuff. A couple NFL thoughts out there. So I mentioned Mac Jones. Now, Mac Jones, I think in the small sample size we saw, cup of coffee, couple games, played very well when Brock Purdy got hurt for San Francisco. I don't know if I'm offering a first round pick for Mac Jones. And I was reading this morning that the 49ers are asking for a first round pick for Mac Jones. Would the Jets do that? Would the Dolphins do that? I don't know. I just don't know. Ryan chimes in. P-Man, Q, I hope Sixers fans just stop showing up at this point. I'm sickening to my stomach over this organization. Hey, sell high on McCain, Daryl Morey, you ruined the team chemistry. And any reason a fan like myself should root for this team, go friggin' scratch. Had the nerve to say a glut of guards when OKC has countless studs. McCain thriving, and I'm watching friggin' campaign Q and an injury away from Kyle Lowry minutes. Hey, I mean, we had this conversation how long ago? Did we have this conversation about the Philadelphia 76ers, right? Q, if I'm Daniel, this is Colt Man. If I'm Daniel Jones, maybe I just sign the transition tag, sit out the season, get healthy. Let's get a deal next offseason. It doesn't work like that. I mean, I know what you're saying, but, how does it really kind of, how does it help you sitting out, right? Paying him $37 million. So, yeah, I'm not, quarterbacks in the NFL, man, I can't figure them out. You can't figure them out. All right, fast approaching 4. As I mentioned, a little rapid fire with the NFL talk on a Woosah Wednesday. As always, appreciate you guys keeping us locked in. Don't forget, tomorrow we'll be back on the air Friday, Football Friday show. A lot to dive into. I want to start hitting on baseball. Got to get into a little baseball, to be quite honest with you. We are right there. We are absolutely right there with baseball among us. Let me just get into a couple more before we get out of here. What do we got here? What do we got? Nikki Six chimes in. Q, I know you're not a Sixers fan, you are a Knicks fan, but let's just be honest. If you're actually weighing the pros and cons of each franchise, which would you prefer? I mean, what are we doing here? Do I even have to answer that? Really? I mean, come on. You're talking about a storied franchise in the Knicks, who, I get it, haven't won a championship since 73. I get it. But come on, the Sixers are a joke. Just stop already. They're a joke. Well, I mean, yeah, you win your 38, 39, 40 something on games, but it's about going forward, right? It's about going forward. And eventually you got to turn around and you got to figure out, okay, this is not the path. We got to change course. We got to pivot. We got to adapt. We got to adjust. They haven't been able to do it. They have not been able to do it. And that is a big problem. And that's why some of these franchises in the NBA, they languish. They're bad. They're embarrassing. They give you nothing. They give you absolutely nothing. Listen, they're so bad and they're so... The Sixers right now, they should feel embarrassed. They should. They should feel embarrassed. They should feel embarrassed. That GM should feel embarrassed. The owner that doesn't even stick his head out of his friggin' hole, counting his billions, should be embarrassed if he actually gave a damn. And that head coach stinks. He stinks. All I heard was Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse stinks. If I'm the Sixers after the season, I fire his ass. I do. I fire his ass. He's bringing absolutely nothing to the table. Nothing to the table with his starting lineups. I mean, you got a lifeless team. An absolutely lifeless team, man. And that falls on the head coach. It does. It falls on the head coach. He should. I'm telling you right now, when they get bounced or when they miss the playoffs. And I understand the downside of firing him right now. I understand it. Trust me, right? But what is the downside of firing him? Like seriously, that's like it's like I'm asking myself a question, I'm answering it. And I'm not going to sit there and tell you, well, they can win a series. Like, who do you believe right now the Sixers can beat? If the playoffs were to start today, they're not beating Detroit. They're not beating the Boston Celtics without Tatum. Brown's having an MVP season. That head coach looks like he's the freaking coach of the year. They're not beating the Knicks. They're not beating Cleveland. They're not beating Toronto. Who are they going to beat? Seriously, who are they going to beat? You lose by 15 to 20 in the NBA, fine. You lose by 40 and you don't even show up? That's embarrassing. They weren't competitive. They had no idea defensively what the hell to do late against the Boston Celtics. And then they lose by 40 to San Antonio. And I can tell you this right now. If somehow they lose tonight to the Utah Jazz, oh my God, I can't imagine the clamoring for this guy's head. Can't imagine the clamoring. And I don't come at me with look at the criticism, look at the roster, look at the way the Sixers organization. Hey man, I don't care. I don't care. Like, don't overrate their roster and then underrate a team like the Celtics roster with no Tatum or the Knicks, even though Brunson has to be a one-man band. And I understand it's Harris and Nurse and Morey are, quote, the minor issues, but the owner's not firing himself, and I don't believe he's going to fire the GM. So that leaves who? That leaves the head coach. I mean, it's like watching shades of Brett Brown. You know, we got to go stall hunting. I mean, this guy's so in over his head. So, and they should have traded Embiid a couple years ago. And I even said trade him after his MVP season. I mean, this Nick Nurse. I mean, I'm over this experiment. I'm over it. I'm absolutely over it. I'm so tired. We always use these excuses: disappointing season, injury to star players, defensive struggles. They do nothing defensively. Nothing. He should be on the hot seat. He's a friggin' fraud. He is a fraud. He's a fraud. He's a fraud head coach. So yeah, you're allowed to talk about his job security. I'm allowed to talk about his job security. I told you this last year. When the Knicks choked and the Knicks lost in the fashion in which they lost to Indiana, what did I say on the air? As a diehard Knicks fan, I said when they lose this series, it's a fireable friggin' offense. What'd they do? They fired the head coach. And that team had more success and has had more success in recent years than the Philadelphia 76ers. I mean, this team is clinging. They're on life support right now. And by the way, every game matters going forward. You can't come out on your home floor and be lifeless. You can't. And then you wonder why the fan base revolts against you. You wonder why the fan base gets pissed off and they don't want to support the product. You wonder why the fan base turns the TV off, turns the radio off, doesn't want to pay for parking, tickets, merchandise, drinks, food. They don't want to waste a Tuesday, Wednesday night to go to the arena when you're getting your asses handed to you by 40 friggin' points. But somewhere high above the rafters, counting his millions and billions, is Josh Harris, who doesn't care. And then you got the used oil snake salesman in Daryl Morey, who can't find his you-know-what, and he's all over the place. And then you got the head coach that looks absolutely ill-prepared and lost. Because this team has so many bad defensive deficiencies, and they're just losing ugly, man. They're losing ugly. I mean, they're not a good team. And they tried to tease you a little bit. They tried to tease you with a little bit of a run. And you want to sit there and say, well, the brutal circumstance. And I can't even get some of my Sixers guys on, to be quite honest, because I'll get so pissed off. Because they're going to spoon-fed me baby food. Sixers crap. And I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Like, I don't need to bring on guys that are cutting a check from the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm sorry. I just don't. And I'm just over the Embiid. shelving himself, resurrecting, shelve himself. The Paul George suspension. Edgecombe hitting the rookie wall. Tyrese is doing everything by himself. Oh, we traded away. I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't. I don't. There's constant excuses. Get this frigging guy out of here. He is not a good head coach. It's just a wrong fit. It's wrong fit. Quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side. All right, don't forget, back in the saddle manana on a Thursday edition of On Q. As always, appreciate the comments. Good stuff with you guys. Little rapid fire on this Woosah Wednesday. Back at it tomorrow on SR 1029 FM The Game, Coastal Sports Digital Network, part of the Odyssey family. Also, like, comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel. A little more NBA talk. And I'm telling you right now, the Sixers better not friggin' lose to the Jazz tonight. A little more baseball tomorrow. A lot more of the NFL as we start to really bleed into the offseason. We'll start to break down some of these divisions, team needs, wants, draft right around the corner. We got you taken care of in that regard. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you enjoy the show, at Rich Q on Q on X, IG, TikTok, Rich Q on a mic. And of course, at Rich Q on Q is the YouTube channel. Share, subscribing is the best way that I feel you guys can reward me with that, as well as the nice words in the comments, as always. All right, back at it on a Thursday. As always, appreciate you guys keeping it tuned into a Wednesday edition of On Q. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. Have a good Sports Wednesday. Enjoy the basketball tonight. We'll talk to you mañana, probably around 3-ish, but check out the notifications. As always, be safe, be sound. Hasta luego, mi dia.